Rules for reaping.
There he is, coming across the finish. Many times it looked as though he wouldn't last, but he trained well, he nourished himself well, he hydrated well, and here he comes. Although he slowed down a bit, he kept a steady race pace. When he fell, he got back up. When he was thirsty, he drank water. When he was hungry, he ate the right nourishment, and he's now at the finish line, finishing his course. There he is, ladies and gentlemen. He broke the tape.
There are times in life when you start out fast and hard. Then you run into obstacles that make you want to quit. That's when you have to know that life is not a fast sprint. Prepare for trouble as it comes so you can conquer each one like a marathon runner. This podcast is to help you to prepare. Prepare for the good and the bad. Prepare to finish your course with success.
Hello, everyone, and I want to welcome you to Marathon Faith. My name is George Bridges, and this is episode number 161, and we are going to continue where we left off from our last podcast. We were talking about how to reap your harvest. Now, the subtitle for this one, or really the theme for this one, the next few episodes is going to be Rules of Reaping. And when we started our podcasts on reaping, how to reap your harvest, we gave the definition of what a harvest is. And the definition of a harvest is the act or process of gathering a crop. It's also the crops that ripens or it's gathered in its season. And we can also say that harvest is the season for gathering in agricultural crops. Now, this year has been titled for our ministry, the Year of Abundant Harvest. And so we want to also talk about abundant and what abundant means. If we're going to have abundant harvest, what is abundant? What does the definition of abundant means? And it's the existing or occurring in a large amount. So we see then that for this year, we can expect an abundant harvest. And so we talked about what it means to have a harvest and what you need to do as a believer or what you need to do in your life to receive that harvest. Now, you can have an abundant harvest, you can have a harvest, but the other side of that is to understand that you have to also know how to reap that harvest. And in one of our previous episodes, we said that, and we referenced the scriptures about Jesus saying that the harvest is plentiful, but the laborers are few. Now, he said that we should pray that the Lord of the harvest would send forth laborers to reap the harvest. Now, what he was talking about was a harvest of souls. And that is one of the key scriptures or key texts that we looked at in our first episode, is looking at that particular passage where Jesus commanded us to pray that the Lord of the harvest would send forth laborers to reap that harvest. We're going to continue on now. We're going to talk about the rules of reaping. And in the rules of reaping, our first part on the rules of reaping is going to be reaping. When you reap, it's not automatic. So if you sow a seed, if you plant a seed, if you're a farmer or if you are into gardening, if you plant a seed, then you can expect to reap a harvest from that seed that you've sown. But if you're into agriculture and you want to be able to reap an abundant harvest, then we know that if you plant seeds, you plant your crop, then there could be an abundant harvest, but you have to go out and reap that harvest, and reaping is not automatic. So our scripture verse from this, or for this particular passage, is going to be Proverbs 10, and we're going to start with verse 1. So in Proverbs 10 and 1, it says that a wise son maketh a glad father, but a foolish son is the heaviness of his mother. Treasures of wickedness profit nothing, but righteousness delivers from death. The Lord will not suffer the soul of the righteous to famish, but he casteth away the substance of the wicked. He becometh poor that dealeth with a slack hand, but the hand of the diligent maketh rich. And that's a key point to think about. He that sow or he that planteth dealeth with a slack hand, but the hand of the diligent maketh rich. Let's go on in verse number 5. It says here that he that gathereth in the summer is a wise son, but he that sleepeth in harvest is a son that causes shame. Verse 6 says, blessings are upon the head of the just, but violence covers the mouth of the wicked. The memory of the just is blessed, but the name of the wicked shall rot. The wise in heart will receive commandments, but a prating fool shall fall. He that walketh uprightly walketh surely, but he that perverteth his ways shall be known. He that winketh with his eyes causeth sorrow, but a prating fool shall fall. Let's read that now in another version. That's a King James version. Let's look at it, and we'll shed some light on this scripture. Let's go to the Message translation for this, and let's see what the Message translation says for this particular passage. And let's get that one. This will shed some light on the passage. Let's look at it from a different translation. I think it will shed some light on it. I'm going to start with verse 1 again. Wise son, glad father, stupid son, sad mother. Ill-gotten gain gets you nowhere. An honest life is immortal. God won't starve an honest soul, but he frustrates the appetites of the wicked. Sloth maketh you poor, diligence bring wealth. Verse 5, make hay while the sun shines, that's smart. Go fishing during harvest, that's stupid. Blessings accrue on a good and honest life, but the mouth of the wicked is a dark grave of abuse. A good and honest life is blessed memorially. A wicked life leaves a rotten stench. A wise heart taketh orders, but shifty is sure to be exposed. An evasive eye is a sign of trouble ahead, but an open face-to-face meeting results in peace. So verse 5, make hay while the sun shines. That's smart. Go fishing during harvest. That's stupid. And so what we're looking at is that reaping is not automatic. You have an opportunity to reap, and during that opportunity or during that time to reap, you have to put forth effort, right? Harvest takes effort on your part. So we shouldn't sleep when it's time to harvest. We should be preparing ourselves to go and reap that harvest. We know when that harvest time comes. It's a short period of time. It doesn't last the entire year, but during that time, during the harvest time, the wise person is going to go out and they're going to reap the things that they've sown. So we must not allow our harvest to stand in the field. Now, people may have a harvest, they may see the harvest, but because of laziness or because of perhaps they have gotten off track and they've lost focus, then they give themselves time, or maybe they procrastinate before they go out and try to reap that harvest. But a wise man is not going to be lazy. And we can go now to, in looking at this whole attitude of being lazy and diligent, we can go to Proverbs 6, chapter 6, verse 6 through 8. And let's look at what the scripture says there. And I'm just going to read Proverbs 6 through 8. It says, you lazy fool, look at any ant, watch it closely, let it teach you a thing or two. Nobody has to tell it what to do. All summer it stores up food. At harvest it stockpiles provisions. So even an ant will look at their abundance and they will stockpile it for times of famine. And that's what you want to do as a person who's going to plant. Now, we're not saying that your season is always going to be a season of famine, but a wise person is going to put away what they stockpile in the harvest for times in the future or times of trouble. Galatians 6, it says here, be not deceived, God is not mocked, for whatsoever man soweth, that shall he also reap. A man decides his harvest by the kind of seed he sows. Exact seed is exact harvest. And that's a quote from Gloria Copeland. She also says, we reap with our words. So we want to be able to establish that in order for us to reap our harvest, there are certain rules that have to be applied. The first rule that we looked at is the rule of the fact that reaping is not automatic. We're going to continue on in the next few episodes. We're going to talk about reaping is our responsibility, or you can say it this way, reaping is going to be your responsibility. And then another subpart of this whole idea of rules of reaping is that reaping requires that we have faith and that we act in faith. So thank you for joining. This episode is Rules of Reaping. episode number 161, and we look forward to seeing you or having you to hear from us in our next episode, which is episode number 162. Thank you for joining.
Life isn't a sprint, long jump, or a 100-meter race. Life is like a marathon, long, steady, focused. Since life is like a marathon, God has given us marathon faith to win our race. Thank you for joining us. If this podcast has blessed you, visit our blog at marathonfaith.com. And remember, you have the strength to finish your race. You have God's marathon faith.